Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the B.E.S.T. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members-only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it, and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the B.E.S.T, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's best standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go. I see you. And let's dive into today's best standard. Hey everyone. My name is Sarah McCarthy and I'm so excited that you are joining me as we break down the following standard. Today's standard is MA.5.FR.2.3 and the standard says when multiplying a given number by a fraction less than 1 or a fraction greater than 1, predict and explain the relative size of the product to the given number without calculating. Now this sounds really heavy, but it's actually a very simple understanding. So let's break this down a little bit more. It says when multiplying a given number, so that will be our what we'll call our original amount, by a fraction that's less than 1, where the numerator is less than the denominator, or a fraction greater than 1, like an improper fraction like 9/8, where the numerator is greater than the denominator, we can use that to predict what's going to happen to that product. Now this sounds very, very wordy, but as we progress through this, you're going to see that it's actually a very simple skill that's happening, okay? By the way, this document that I'm marking up all over is not something that I created. This is something that the Florida Department of Education releases to the public. And in these Breaking Down the B.E.S.T episodes, we're going to spend about half of the video breaking down the standard, and then we'll pop over to the website in the second half of the video and I'll show you all the resources that you have available to you that are aligned to this standard, okay? All right, let's continue. So benchmark clarifications. Instruction focuses on the connection to decimals, estimation, and assessing the reasonableness of answers. So even though it doesn't even mention decimals in the standard itself, this clarification lets us know that decimals will also be connected to what we're doing today. What are some of the related benchmarks? Well, NSO.2.4 in 5th grade is where we were exploring multiplication and division with decimals. And also 2.5 is when we're multiplying and dividing by 1/10 and 1/100. We also have GR.2.1, which involves perimeter and area of rectangle with fractional or decimal side lengths. In 4th grade, students practice multiplying whole numbers by fractions or mixed numbers, and also flipping that around to go the opposite way using the commutative property of multiplication. And in 6th grade, we have 2.2, where we're multiplying and dividing fractions with fluency, and 2.3, which is multi-step real-world problems with all 4 operations, including decimals and fractions. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the standard. It says the purpose of this benchmark is for students to examine how numbers change when multiplying by fractions. And they've had some fraction experience in 4th grade, but these are the important things for students to have experience examining. 1, when you multiply by a fraction greater than 1, the number, the product, increases. When you multiply by a fraction equal to 1, the number, the product, is going to stay the same. And when you're multiplying by a fraction less than 1, the number or the product decreases. So these are the ahas that we want to have. Okay, so let's see what these look like. Let's say that we're multiplying the number 2 times a fraction greater than 1. So let's say 4/3. The product is going to be greater than 2 because we're multiplying it by a fraction greater than 1. The product is going to be greater than 2. If we took 2, that same number, and we multiplied it by 3/3, which is equal to 1, the product is going to be equal to 2. And then if we were to take that same number 2 and multiply it by a fraction less than 1, like 3/4, our product, our answer is going to be less than 2. Or I could say less than 2, greater than 2. Okay? So that's what's happening. Without even multiplying, we should just be able to look at the numbers, look at what it's being multiplied by, and determine what's going to happen to the size of the product. Throughout instruction, we want to encourage students to use models. Let's get to some of the misconceptions or errors, okay? It says students may believe that multiplication always results in a larger number. Right? For years now, it's been like, okay, we've got a factor, and our product is going to be the big number. And really, we shouldn't have said that to begin with, because in this case, when we're multiplying by fractions less than 1, the product is actually going to decrease in value. That's why it's imperative to include models during instruction, so that way they can see and experience the results and begin to make generalizations that are based on that understanding with the models. Okay, some tasks. This says Derek is playing a computer game where he must multiply a number by a factor that increases the number size. So to increase it, we want to be multiplying by fractions or values that are greater than 1. Here are some more examples of what this standard looks like in action. It says, which of the following expressions will have a product greater than 4? Well, to make it greater than 4, we need to multiply it by a fraction that is greater than 1. That's why D would work there. And here, if we multiply 20 by 63/65, that will produce a product that is less than 20, because this right here is a fraction less than 1. All right, so this is what the standard looks like in action. We've broken it down. Now let's go ahead and see what you have access to with your Taking on the B.E.S.T membership. So here we are at the website, mccarthymathacademy.com. Click Members Enter here. And Taking on the B.E.S.T, we want to explore 5th grade. The strand we want is the fraction strand, FR, and we want this one right here, MA.5.FR.2.3, predict the relative size of a product. All right, so here we have our bronze resources. These are video lessons with printable student guides, and we have 3 video lessons available for this standard. The first one showcases how to predict the relative size of a product, where we're going to discover the rules. Then we'll practice predicting the relative size of a product in the next video lesson. And then finally, we'll connect it to decimals in the 3rd video lesson. Students can watch these video lessons and record their notes on the printable guides right next to it. And the whole purpose of these video lessons is to make it fun and to make it click. I want students to walk away from these videos saying, okay, now I'm ready to try this on my own. Not that I've mastered it yet, but now I'm ready to practice it. So once they have their notes, that's why the silver plan is important. So if you have the gold or the silver plan, you'll have access to this. You just click on your printable guides and we'll go through them right now. Okay, so this one is the first video lesson, how to predict the relative size of a product, discovering the rules. For each expression, model with a drawing to understand what happens to the product when you multiply 2/3 by a fraction less than 1, equal to 1, and greater than 1. So we're going to use 2/3. We're going to model this now, multiplying by a fraction less than 1 to show that we get a value less than 2/3. Then multiply 2/3 times 2/2, which is equal to 1, and we'll include a model to show that it's equal to 2/3. And then in problem number 3, we have 2/3, and we're going to multiply it by a fraction greater than 1, modeling with a visual to show how the product will be greater than 2/3. After that, there's extra practice. So now students have their notes and now they can practice on their own. So then we have a video lesson where we're not even going to model, but now we're just incorporating what we know is going to happen based on the rules that we learned by multiplying 1 2/3 by a fraction less than 1, greater than 1, and equal to 1. Then after that, students can take those notes and go to the extra practice and try this page on their own. There's actually 2 pages of extra practice for that one. Then we have the video lesson where we're connecting what we know about predicting the relative size of a product to decimals. We're connecting it. So for this one, it says, for each expression, explain what happens to the product when you multiply 3 by a value less than 1, equal to 1, and greater than 1. So here we have multiplying 3 by a decimal that's greater than 1, multiplying 3 by a decimal that's less than 1, and multiplying 3 by a decimal that is equal to 1. Taking those notes then, now students can go to the extra practice and try this one on their own. The next activity is a math mission. It's a math task. It says that Rachel is playing a game. She currently has 14,328 points. In part 1, Rachel has to multiply her point value by a factor that will increase her points. Some options are provided below. Select all the options that would increase her point value and explain your answer on the lines below. So what Rachel needs to do is obviously find the factors that are going to be greater than 1. For part 2, for the next round, Rachel must select all the possible options that would keep her point values the same. Her cousin Jeremy looks at the same options and says there's no way to accomplish this. Do you agree or disagree with Jeremy? So is there one up there that is equal to 1? And there is an answer key right here that has all the answers, so you'll have it there. The last activity in the silver plan is the math misconception mystery. As you can see, it's a video lesson. All you have to do is click play, and I will walk you and your students through the entire process. First, students will solve this problem on their own, and then they will watch as 4 other characters solve the same problem. Now, these characters are just me dressed up in silly costumes with silly accents. 3 of the characters are going to make a mistake that students commonly make, and only 1 character will solve it correctly. After they watch all the 4 characters, they'll fill out their detective report on page 2. And this really is a fun way to get your students talking and thinking and listening and reasoning with error analysis. So that is awesome. And if you have the gold plan, you have access to even more. So with the gold plan, you have everything that we've gone over, plus you have the mini assessment. It has a variety of question types based on the standard. You can give this as a mini assessment, or it can be extra practice. Scroll down so you can see the variety of question types. There we go. Okay. And you've got your answer key right here. You also have these episodes of Breaking Down the Best right here with your standard with all of the resources. That way you can just watch it and click and print and get what you need. The highlight though for the gold plan is McCarthy Math 155. This is a daily math intervention that is aligned to the Common Core standards. And I know that it says Common Core standards, and now we're on the BEST standards, but if you've been working with the BEST standards for a little bit now, you've probably noticed that there's a lot of skills that do trickle over. They just might look a little bit different with the BEST standards, and that's why I created Taking on the BEST. However, this is a great program to build your students' confidence, especially for your students who are struggling, to give them a safe place to practice and increase their math skills. The 155 stands for 155 videos for each grade. So let's click on 5th grade. And you can see it's broken into different units. We've got multiplication, division, numerical expressions, all of which can still be used, that are used with the BEST standards. 10 video lessons, 10 video lessons, 13. And what we want is operations with fractions right here, because we want multiplying fractions. I'll show you. Okay, you can see some of the titles here. I'm just going to keep on scrolling down. Because right here, day 95, day 96, are scaling and resizing fractions, which goes over what we've done today, maybe just in a little bit of a different way, but still provides extra practice with that. As you can see, it says 1 2/10 times 1/12 is, and based on the standard that we've just learned, is less than 1 2/10. That's all that we're doing here. 3 3/4 times 3/10 is less than 3/4, because we're multiplying it by a fraction less than 1. So it's just practice on that. Another video lesson to help you practice with that. Okay? All right, I think that's it for going over the standard and what you have access to with your membership. And I hope that you found this to be helpful, and I really hope that it puts some time back into your pocket. Before we go, let me remind you that what you wake up and you choose to do with your life every day, it really does matter. Thank you for all that you do for your students, for stepping into the best version of yourself on a daily basis to inspire your students to do the same. And of course, thank you for inviting me into your educational space, because I just love supporting you and supporting your students. So thanks for that. I know you're busy. I know you've got a lot. So I will see you in another episode soon, okay? All right, bye. Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now. Bye.